You know that feeling, right? You click on a website and you just get that spinning wheel. You know that feeling, right? You click on a website and you just get that spinning wheel. And what do? You leave. See, in today's world, website speed isn't just some nice to have feature. It's everything. It is the user experience. So today, we're going to explore 10 really powerful tools that can make pretty much any application feel lightning fast. So let's just get right to it. What's the actual real-world cost of a single 1-second delay when your site is loading? I know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, the data tells a pretty staggering story. 11%. Just let that sink in for a second. For every 1 second of delay, you lose 11%. But 11% of what? Well, let's look at the real consequence here. Yeah, an 11% drop in page views. That means fewer people see your content, fewer potential customers. I mean, that's a real hit to your bottom line. In this world, literally every millisecond counts. So let's dive in and see how we can start winning that time back. All right, let's start with the most basic problem of all, physical distance. I mean, the speed of light is fast, but it's not instant, right? Data still has to travel, often through these massive undersea cables from a server to a user. So if your server's in New York and your user's in Tokyo, well, you're going to have a delay. So the solution is something called a content delivery network, or a CDN. And what it does is it stores copies, a cache of your website in data centers all around the world. So now, that user in Tokyo gets your site from a server right there, locally, not from one halfway across the globe. Think of it like a global library system, making sure the book you want is always at your local branch. Okay, so a CDN solves the distance problem. Great. But what about the journey itself? You know, the internet isn't one big straight highway. It's this incredibly complex web of different networks. And just like real-world traffic, some of those routes can get super slow and congested. And this is where Argo Smart Routing comes in. It's constantly analyzing internet traffic in real time to find the absolute fastest, least congested path. So this builds on the whole CDN idea. It's not just enough to be close. You also need the best directions. The best analogy? Think of Argo as Waze for your website's data, always finding a detour around any digital traffic jams. So we're close to the user, and we're on the fastest path. We're golden, right? Well, what happens if the content our user actually wants isn't at their local data center? This is called a cache miss, and it means we have to go all the way back to the original server to get it, which, you guessed it, slows everything right back down. Cache Reserve solves this with a huge, persistent storage layer, basically a massive backup for all those local data centers. So if some less popular content gets pushed out of a local cache, it's still available in this reserve. We never have to go bother the original server. It's kind of like a giant warehouse making sure every single product is always in stock somewhere. All right, let's switch gears from speed to reliability because, let's be honest, a fast website that's offline is completely useless. Servers can fail. They do fail. So the really crucial question is, how do you protect your application when one of them just goes down? The answer is load balancing. Instead of just relying on one server, you use a whole bunch of them. The load balancer then intelligently spreads the incoming traffic among them. And it uses these constant health checks to see which servers are healthy and which aren't. And it'll instantly reroute traffic away from any that fail. It's just like a well-run restaurant redirecting orders if one of the chefs suddenly gets sick. The customer, they never even notice. Okay, so far we've focused on the network and the servers. But what about what's actually happening in the user's browser? You know, modern websites are loaded with scripts for analytics, ads, all sorts of things. And spoiler alert, yes, every single one of those can slow your page down. A tool like Zaris tackles this by basically yanking those scripts off the user's browser and running them on the network itself, on the edge. So it's closer to the user, but it's not on their device. This means their computer has way less work to do, so the page just feels faster. Think of it like a restaurant that does all the prep work in its own kitchen so the customer doesn't have to. You know, we're always looking for clever ways to shave off milliseconds. So what if we could give the browser a head start? What if it could start grabbing important files like style sheets or images even before the server is finished building the main page? That is exactly what Early Hints does. As soon as a request hits the server, it sends back this special little response that tells the browser, hey, you're going to need these files, start downloading them now. It saves precious time by doing things in parallel. It's kind of like a chef yelling out to the staff to start chopping vegetables while the main course is still simmering. Okay, let's talk about the biggest performance killers out there, media. High-resolution images, videos, they are huge, and they can absolutely destroy your performance if you don't handle them right. So how do we fix that? This is where specialized services for images and stream come into play. For images, they automatically resize and serve up the perfect format for whatever device someone is using. For video, they handle that whole complex pipeline of storage, encoding, and playback. It's basically like having a professional Photoshop and a movie theater built right into your site. We've optimized the network, the servers, the browser, and the media. What's even left? Well, the code itself. Every single character in your code files, even spaces and comments, adds to the file size. So can we get rid of some of that fluff? Oh, absolutely. The process is called minification. It intelligently strips out all the non-essential characters. We're talking comments, white space, you name it, without actually changing how the code works. The code that's left is way smaller and so much faster to download. It's kind of like compressing an essay by just removing all the filler words. Okay, for our final tool, let's talk about a different kind of problem. What happens when you're too successful? You know, a new product launch goes viral, or you get a shout out from someone famous, and suddenly this massive, unexpected wave of traffic threatens to overwhelm your servers completely. This is the exact scenario a waiting room is designed for. Instead of just letting your application crash and burn, it intercepts that flood of traffic and places users in a virtual queue. Then, it just lets people onto the site at a rate your servers can actually handle. This ensures a smooth experience for everybody who gets in. It's just like lining up for a popular concert. It's orderly, it's fair, and it prevents a total meltdown. So there you have it, 10 different tools, and each one solves a really unique performance challenge. When you put them all together, what you have is the complete toolkit for building a faster, more reliable web experience for everyone. So let's do a quick recap of the toolkit. We started with a CDN to get content closer to our users. Then we used Argo to find the fastest network paths. Cache Reserve gives us that persistent backup storage, while load balancing keeps everything online and reliable. We moved scripts off the browser with Zares and gave browsers a head start with Early Hints. We optimized all our media with images and stream and shrunk our code with Auto Minify. And finally, we managed those crazy traffic spikes with a waiting room. Every single piece here plays a really vital role. In the end, it really all comes down to this one question. Your website might be live on the internet, sure, but is it truly alive for your users? Does it feel instant, responsive, reliable? Because that's what performance really is. It's the invisible force that actually brings a digital application to life.